What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Brandon, and today we have a very interesting subject, which is going to be talking about television producers, large networks, and social media guys like myself, and probably a large chunk of you guys, especially after the last 2 months of talking about analytics and stuff. I know a lot of creators have started coming over and watching this channel because of just that side of it. Now, if you've made videos for several years, it's probably happened to you just like it has to me. You've probably been contacted by someone wanting to make a television show of some type. And it's really cool, it's very flattering, and it makes you feel really good about yourself that somebody would even consider you for that spot. Now, I'm going to give you guys the highs and the lows on the ups and downs, all that good stuff of what I think about this and where it could go. And I would love to hear from you guys if you ever have been contacted in the comments below, just to see how many people have been contacted, and I think that'll give a lot of people probably a little bit more clear picture. So one of the television producers that contacted me was back in 2018. My channel was only a year old. I only had 8,000 subscribers. They weren't necessarily looking at how large my channel was to gauge whether or not they wanted to use me for a television program, but rather the quality of the video in the sense of what we were finding and our personalities. The personality is what the television producers are really after, not necessarily what you're finding. Though they would love to have epic finds because that makes cool episodes, if you're not an entertaining person, people aren't going to watch you. So this producer contacts me, he has a really cool idea, and he's wanting to pitch it to the History Channel or to Discovery. So these television producers that are contacting you usually do not work directly for a television network. They're kind of like a middleman, they're a contractor. And what they do is they'll build something called a sizzler trailer from your existing content, and then they will reach out to you to have you make fillers. So for me, this very first time, they went through and picked out like my top 4 videos, dissected them, and created this really cool 2-minute sizzler trailer with my top finds. And then they had me refilm these little sections where I pop in and out of the video. They put their own narration, their own drone work, all that kind of stuff to it. And they make this really cool sizzler that they pitch to all these channels. And when you see the sizzler, you're going to be like, holy cow, I wish I could film like that. Well, you got to keep in mind they're TV producers. And again, just because you think it looks awesome does not mean that the networks will. And I'll be the first one to tell you. I have literally talked to 7 television producers that have pitched to all of the major networks, and none of it has ever came to fruition. Maybe that's me, but maybe that's people not wanting to watch the bottle side of things. I don't know. I don't think that's what it is, or we wouldn't have almost 1 million followers, or right at 1 million followers. I think that there's interest in it, but for some reason the television networks don't seem to take a whole lot of interest in what we're doing. I think the story is harder to tell for somebody digging in an antique bottle dump than it is somebody metal detecting or doing something like Oak Island that has like 300 years of history behind it, or 400, whatever it is. Was it pirates, or is there a flood tunnel, or, well, all that doesn't really come into digging bottles. So the story is very important for the type of videos that you make for these content creators, and I feel like, or for these television producers, not content creators, and I feel like that may be what held us back with the networks, is not having a cool enough story behind how we find the stuff. You know, we can tell them how we found our sites, we can tell them about the bottles, we can tell them about the history and how rare it is and the value, but we couldn't tell you who drank from the bottle. We couldn't tell you, those little aspects seem to be the keys to making a television show really work. Well, that first producer made this really cool sizzler. Like I said, I thought it looked awesome. We got shut down. Second producer comes in, he does the same thing, except for this time they asked me to sign a talent contract, which held me in contract for 12 months, which meant that I could not talk to any other television producers or networks. And I feel like that may not have been my best move. And I'll tell you why. Well, I had 4 or 5 television producers contact me during that period that I had to say basically, no, I'm off the table, there's nothing I can do about it. And it was sad. And there again, I don't know if anything ever came of those television shows. All I know is once I told them that was it. All of the emails and stuff ceased at that point. Well, that contract goes, expires, nothing happens after that. And a couple years goes by, I get a couple more people that have reached out to me, and my contract's expired, so I start answering these people that are talking to me again, the television producers. And thankfully, the last one that I talked to, sadly he's passed away now, was Dakota Fred. And a lot of you know Dakota Fred from Gold Rush. We talked multiple times over the last couple of years about antique bottles and television shows. He was infamous for being on Gold Rush and then Whitewater behind it. What a lot of people don't know is he was stepping away from the television show, and he had actually took on a producer role. And I don't even know if Discovery wants me saying that, but he was trying to get in the producer role and out of being in the field and diving in, at 80 years old. So he had talked to me about doing this television show and being a part of it, and it was super cool to talk with him and get his insights, because obviously he's been a reality TV star for almost a decade or over a decade. And he gave me a lot of insights, and then talking with other people that have been on television shows is also very insightful. Dakota Fred was super cool though, because there again, he kind of just let me know all the secrets out of the gate. The first of which, my question was, how long does it usually take to film a first season, and what are the chances of getting a second season? And usually 6 to 8 weeks for what we were going to do was going to be all it would take to film it. It was going to be 6 to 10 episodes for the first season. Usually 6 is what they like to run now. And if those first 6 episodes had good ratings, then they would renew for a second season. Now, if they didn't have good ratings, you're gone. You're done. There's no point in them continuing. Obviously, there's not enough interest in it. So that was one of the things he gave me a lot of insight into, and I didn't know it. The other side was how much money could we possibly make in the first season, especially if we had to quit our job to film for 8 weeks. Well, that was the major letdown. Some people will tell you $1,000 an episode. That's only $6,000 for 2 months. That's not a lot of money, especially if you had to quit your job. The other thing that I've heard people say is, a couple of the producers said, hey, we'll cover your salary that you were making at your previous job. So you provide them with a paycheck stub showing them how much money you made for the previous 6 to 8 weeks, and then they're going to just basically give you the same compensation that you would have made. And that's all you're going to get for the first season. So you're not going to become a millionaire because you got 1 season of television. It's your season 2, 3, 4 where you're going to be able to renegotiate your contract, get more money, and then you're going to make a little bit more money. But at the end of the day, still, the royalties and stuff off of that stuff is not what you think it would be, especially on shows that have been off the air for multiple years. You're not making a ton of money. At that point, you're kind of in the hands of sponsorships that will be carrying you, hopefully, for your salary base. So there again, if I were a creator now, which I am, and I had a TV producer contact me today, yes, I've been through the ropes. Yes, I've had a million Zoom calls, and I've had multiple Sizzler trailers made, and nothing's ever come of it. However, nothing ventured, nothing gained comes to mind. So I will always talk to producers, always talk to them, always hear them out, always hear what they have to say. And while I'm doing these interviews and these Sizzler trailers, I'm constantly learning as I'm doing it. So for me, that's how I look at it now, is not, oh, I'm about to get a television show, but what can I learn from this interview that I'm about to do, and how can I use it to benefit me in my next one? So that first Zoom call interview that I did for the first television show, I was incredibly rusty, because I'd never done it before. I was tight, I was saying and all that kind of stuff a bunch of times. Well, by the 7th or the 8th one, I felt like I had it under control, and there again, practice makes perfect. So if you have a television producer that contacts you, my advice to you would be to absolutely talk with them. It may seem like a scam because they will contact you in the weirdest ways, like Instagram or TikTok or an email even, and it can get thrown into your spam folder. There again, be careful, don't click on links, all that kind of stuff, but if they provide a phone number or an email address for you to respond to, that would be how I would reach back out to them. Then if they offer to do a Zoom call, absolutely do the Zoom call, and know you're not going to be great at first, and just know that you're not. And that's okay, because you'll have more people contact you behind it. Learn from your interview. And then remember, don't sign a contract that's going to hold you back for a year. I would try to renegotiate for 3 to 6 months. That will put the ball back in your court, and it'll make it where they have to move faster pitching and making the Sizzler trailer. Whereas if they have a whole year, guess what? They're probably going to take a full year to do that. So there again, that's my 2 cents worth. I hope this is helpful to some of you. And if it is, let me know in the comments below. And we will see you guys in the next video.